Hey, welcome to Long Hair, Tattoos, and No Shoes. My name is Bill. I'm a United Methodist pastor, and as you can see, I've got long hair, tattoos, and I rarely wear shoes. Today, we're going to be looking at an ancient text that's got all the drama and suspense of a telenovela. And I'm talking, of course, about the Bible, and more specifically, the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth is like the first soap opera, except way before television was even a twinkle in your father's eye. You may think your day, your week, or your year has been terrible, but let me tell you, it's probably nothing compared to these first 5 verses. I'll give you a spoiler warning. This isn't your summer feel-good hit. Naomi and her family are hit with what can only be described as a avalanche of biblical calamity. They start out at the beginning of this book in Judah when a famine so bad hits that I don't even think that DoorDash would deliver. And then they move to the foreign land of Moab, just across the Dead Sea. And in just a couple of words, Naomi's husband, Elimelech, dies. No warning, nothing. We're not given an explanation. That's it. He's gone. He's dead. And then things go from bad to worse because Naomi's 2 sons, they break the golden rule. No, not that one, but the one that forbid the Hebrew people from marrying foreigners because those foreigners might lead them into idolatry. That's right. Naomi's sons marry 2 Moabite women. And during the 10 years that Naomi is there in Moab, those 2 sons also die. And they don't even leave her any grandkids. Those 2 inconsiderate boys. They should have been thinking better. Okay, we've got to also talk about how bad Elimelech is at making decisions. You don't want this man making decisions for you. He's already led his family into a foreign land, and his wife's left a widow with no children. But you also don't want this man naming your children. He is the absolute worst at naming children. He names his 2 sons Mahalan and Chilion, which doesn't sound that bad until you know that Mahalan means sickly and Chilion means destruction. Hi there, I'm sickly and I'm destruction. Come on, Elimelech. Was migraine and tumor already taken? I mean, it's like Naomi and her family binge watched Ozark and said, let's live that life. There's a lot going on in this book. There are Easter eggs that we miss out on because we're reading an English translation. That English translation doesn't reveal those Easter eggs, but we are going to dive into those over the next few weeks. And let's go ahead and start with these first 5 verses by looking at the setting. See, the setting of this book takes place during the time of the Judges. Now, if you're not familiar with the time of the Judges, this is that period in history after Joshua has led the people of Israel into the promised land and before Saul becomes king, before the monarchy is established. This is about 300 to 400 years before Saul takes the throne. The time of the judges. Samson was a judge. You may remember him. And during this period, it was like Game of Thrones without the dragons. The 12 tribes of Israel were loosely connected, and they spent their time either fighting one another or having to join together against a foreign power. Whenever one of the tribes would fall into idolatry, a foreign power would rise up and conquer them. And then once their time under that foreign power was done, God would raise up a judge. No, not the kind that sits behind a desk and hits the hammer and runs a courtroom. No, these judges were more like warlords, and they would rise up and lead that tribe to freedom by conquering their oppressors. This is the time when Naomi and her family live. And this story is so full of irony. As we continue looking at our setting, part of the setting is the location. And where we find out that they're at, they are in Bethlehem. And you won't believe what Bethlehem translates to. It translates to house of bread. House of bread during a famine. That's like living in Waterland during a drought. And not only that, but we're told that their family are Ephrathites. And Ephrathites come from a region of Judah called Ephrathah. And I can't make this up. This is absolutely true. Ephrathah means fruitful. So we have a family who come from a region called Fruitful, living in a town called House of Bread during a famine. It's almost like the writer is trying to tell us there is a theme, an underlying theme, and that's exactly what he's doing. Then they must travel across the Dead Sea. Dead Sea doesn't have any fish, famine, still staying with this theme, to the land of Moab. We've got to look at Moab's heritage because it makes about as much sense as a fish riding a bicycle. If you remember the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, that's right, Sodom and Gomorrah. This is where the origins come from, but we go back a little bit further because it involves Lot, the nephew of Abraham. Ooh, family connection. Yeah, there are some family connections that are kind of troubling here. We'll get to that in a minute. Lot moved to Sodom, and you may remember that Sodom is famous for God having rained down fire and brimstone, destroying the entire town, except for Lot and his family. And Lot and his family are escaping. And then in a plot twist that M. Night Shyamalan would have rejected because it seems ridiculous, Lot's wife looks back. And when she looks back, she's turned into a pillar of salt. I love salt. Salt's my favorite. I could use a pillar of salt right here. That would be but never mind. And so Lot and his daughters continue to flee. And what probably goes into the Guinness Book of World Records as the worst decision-making ever, they go into a cave and they look and they see the fire and brimstone falling down. And as one does, they think, oh, the world's ending. And so what do Lot's daughters do? Here's those family connections. Lot's daughters decide to get him drunk. Classy ladies. And in an even classier move, they decide, once he's drunk, we'll bear children with him. And that's exactly what happens. And from those children come the Moabites. And if the story wasn't strange enough, we discover in Deuteronomy chapter 23 that God declares that the Moabites cannot enter into the assembly of the Lord even unto the 10th generation. It's this land of Moab. These cousins, the cousins you don't claim, that Naomi finds herself without husband or sons. And in those days, a woman without husbands or sons, there was no Social Security, there was no safety net. Naomi couldn't even get a job greeting at Walmart. But here's where our story begins to take a redemptive turn. Because Naomi wasn't really by herself. See, we're going to find our hero now in a plucky young Moabite woman named Ruth. Yeah, you guessed that right. That's how they named the book. And it's with Ruth, this Moabite woman, that light at the end of the tunnel is no longer a train. It's more redemptive now. And if you weren't sure who the hero of this story is yet, Ruth's name actually means friend. See, this is the comeback story. This is Rocky. This is the Mighty Ducks. This is like the time I tried to juggle live ferrets on YouTube. Don't Google that. But now Naomi's story is basically the redemption narrative equivalent to turning water into, well, better water. And just when things seem bleakest in Naomi's life, she decides to return to Bethlehem. And she's not alone. She's accompanied by that Moabite woman, Ruth. And remember, Moabites were, let's say, not particularly welcome into the Lord's VIP lounge. They were kind of like that cousin you forget to invite to family functions. But here's the kicker. Remember that fun, tiny little detail about Naomi spending 10 years in Moab? Well, God seemingly used it as a divine stopwatch, signaling the end of the Moabites' exclusion from the assembly of the Lord. See, in essence, the book of Ruth is like an old world family therapy session. It's about fractured families finding their way back to each other, mending relationships, and essentially realizing that that person you once side-eyed across the room, well, they just might be family after all. So in the next few weeks, strap in because we're going to do a deep dive into the whirlwind drama that's the book of Ruth. Expect twists, turns, and probably a lot of sandal-related incidents. Until then, cherish your family, even those that are a bit Moabitish. And friends, I have good news for you. God loves you, and I love you too.